All right, folks, welcome to another edition of Outspoken. I'm Dan Sileo, and we are one day before the start of Super Bowl 60. Guys, fire the cannons. What a great weekend we are shaping up to see with Super Bowl 60. No question about it. These two football teams have been on an epic journey to get to this game and to get to this moment here. The Seattle Seahawks have gone through the NFC West to be able to get to that team, and where they are right now has been an iconic journey. They had to go through the Rams. They had to go through the 49ers. They had to go through those great games that they played throughout the tournament here in the NFC side of the bracket, and here they are with a shot to win another Super Bowl under the direction of Mike Macdonald. Then on the other side, you have the New England Patriots, who only 3 years ago, think about the last 3 years with the New England Patriots. They have stunk. And you would say this too. Hey, the Patriots haven't been bad long enough to be back into a Super Bowl. Mike Vrabel, Josh McDaniels, who the other night was just honored as the best assistant coach in the National Football League, has now put this Patriots team in the Super Bowl now for the 12th time in franchise history. It's a remarkable story. Both defenses, too, going into this football game could be the storyline. A lot of points in this ball game. People are floating around the 45.5 points that they're looking at the over-under in here. I'm thinking that this thing could be really a close-scoring game and a low-scoring game because of the defensive guys that they have in this team. Now, look, I think Milton Williams was a fabulous addition coming up from the Philadelphia Eagles. What he's brought versatility to that front seven. And I think one of the more underrated parts of this football game is going to be that New England Patriots football team's defense. The defensive side, obviously led by Mike Vrabel and what he's brought to the team, and the attitude and how they play the game. They play the game with a sense of urgency. On the other side, what can you say? I mean, there is no doubt Sam Darnold is the storyline heading into this game. The reclamation project that nobody wanted. Jets, Carolina Panthers. You know, he had a cup of coffee in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, and I remember Kyle Shanahan even saying this dude can play. Well, over the last 2 years, Sam Darnold has thrown for over 8,200 yards, over 60 touchdowns during the regular season, and it's been a remarkable renaissance for this guy. Now, he goes over 340 yards in the NFC Championship game and throws 3 touchdowns in the ball game. And he is 60 minutes away from potentially being a MVP and a Super Bowl champion. And here's a guy here that people, like I said, people in New York were saying he was seeing ghosts. Now, look, let's not take anything away. It got out to a rocky start for Sam Darnold in New York. You know, no question. It's got out to a bad start for him. I think it goes to show you a little bit. No question that you have to be more patient. And I think that's one of the things that the New England Patriots have done with their quarterback in Drake May and how they've been patient, and also how the Seattle Seahawks have been patient with Sam Darnold. Clint Kubiak, who's going to become the head football coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, has done a spectacular job at the game plan. JSN has been just all over the place when it comes to getting the football. You talk about one of the absolute best playmakers in the game. You know, you can make the comment that Chase in Cincinnati is the best wide receiver in all of pro football, maybe even Justin Jefferson up in Minnesota. But JSN has been a weapon in how he's carried that offensive football team. And Sam Darnold and him have been clicking just without a doubt how great he's been. The other end, too, I think the running game is going to be an iconic part of this football game. I think maybe even on both sides. And you've got Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker, in my opinion, is going to have to be a guy that gets at least over 120 yards rushing in this game to keep time of possession and field position on their side. Make no mistake about it, folks. I think that when you look at the games here, you have a defensive mentality on how these guys are going to approach the game. It's because of the mentality of the coaches. You know, I always say that teams take on the personality of their coaches. There is no doubt heading into this football game, Mike Macdonald, a defensive-minded guy. Mike Vrabel, a defensive-minded guy. That carries also over onto the offense and the way they approach the ball game. I think this game could be shaping up to be one of the closest Super Bowls played. I would not be shocked if it goes to an extra frame and we have ourselves another overtime Super Bowl. This game is going to be so close, and without a doubt, I believe this game is going to really tell us a little bit more about, I think, the future of how you see the quarterback position. Let's go here for a second here also. So, there's a lot of teams around the National Football League that have these $50 million quarterbacks, right? Take a look at how many of these quarterbacks have panned out and really taken their team far. It's more about building rosters. Look at the $50 million guys. How many guys have even gone to an NFC Championship game? Outside of guys like Hurts and Stafford and Jared Goff, name me guys that have been paid the $55 million. Trevor Lawrence? No. Look at Joe Burrow. Yes, got to the game a quarter away from potentially winning a Super Bowl. It was one of the most remarkable runs of all time, especially with that Cincinnati Bengal team. I mean, not many of these $50 million a year guys pan out. Sam Darnold's making $37.5 million a year. If you're going to build your team, would you rather have a roster or would you rather have, again, a franchise quarterback? How's that panning out in Buffalo? You've got arguably the best talented quarterback in all of pro football in Josh Allen, and you've got a crappy roster. And then, Brandon Beane tries to tell you that roster is a Super Bowl roster. No, it's not. It's not a Super Bowl roster. You have a Super Bowl quarterback that you're not doing enough for. These two teams, look at the QBs and how much money they're making. Drake May is on a rookie deal. And like I said, you've got Sam Darnold that's sitting there at $37.5 million. I'm not spending $55 million on a quarterback. I'm spending my money on my roster. I think that's some of the storylines going into this football game on Super Bowl Sunday. I mean, the way that they have been constructed, I love the way Elliott Wolf has put the team together. John Schneider, the general manager of the Seahawks, think about what he's done also. So he comes out of the Pete Carroll era, right? They get rid of Russell Wilson, and all of a sudden, here they are again with Darnold and with Mike Macdonald. You talk about organizations from the top down getting it right, making the right hires, making the right decision at the quarterback spot. No doubt about it. That's why these two football teams, and I think they are the two best football teams that'll play for the Lombardi Trophy. That'll be on Sunday. All right. Hall of Fame came out. My friends, the Hall of Fame, really, I think this past week was a black eye on the Hall of Fame. Make no mistake, okay? I think you really did a disservice to the guys who were inducted. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the great possession wide receivers of all time. Roger Craig, finally getting his justice, the former 49er. Drew Brees, and then Luke Kuechly going into the Hall of Fame. What was the one thing missing? The one thing missing, obviously, was Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick. I mean, I'm hearing already that the pro football is going to have different kind of parameters on how they're going to pick in the future and how they're going to vote moving into the future, because you can't have these omissions like this and call yourself a Hall of Fame. You cannot tell the story of pro football without Robert Kraft, who's now in his 11th Super Bowl, and without the head coach with the greatest record of all time in Bill Belichick. All right, speaking of the greatest, one of our dear friends, Morgan & Morgan, John Morgan and Ultima Morgan. It is a family-run business. Morgan & Morgan is the number one injury law firm in all of America for a reason. You know why, folks? Because they win. Simple as that. Make no mistake about it. Ultima started this company over 25 years ago, and there is no company like it. Do me a favor. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound love 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound 529. Do me a favor. Hang tight, because we are going to have the legendary Bill Romanowski, the owner of 4 Super Bowls. 4 Super Bowls, folks, with the Broncos and the 49ers. And we're going to talk with him, and we're going to get his thoughts when it comes to how you play in that game and how you win that game. That's next, right here on Sports Grid.
Saturday Saturday, February 7th, Conor McGregor will be in the building for Knuckle Mania 6. In the main event, heavyweights collide as champ Ben Rothwell defends against Andrei Arlovski. In the co-main event, we find out who's the #1 pound-for-pound bare-knuckle fighter in the world. It's Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt versus Dave Redneck Mundell. Plus, a heated rematch ignites as Tony Loco Soto runs it back with Ben the Bomber Bonner. And the women bring pure intensity as Jade Massam Wong faces Crystal the Rugged Beauty Pittman. For how to watch live, go to bkfc.com for more info.
Aaron Peterson right now is -300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on Sports Grid.
And the calm before the storm. Super Bowl 60 on Sunday. Make no mistake about it. This is what every single player dreams about doing. His entire life is to get to this iconic game and to get to the Super Bowl. Every single player, make no mistake about it, wants to play in this ball game and wants to be in a game like this to really, again, I say it all the time to people. You make your money in the regular season, folks, and you make your legacy in the postseason. If you're going to have a resume and you want to have your resume with the cherry on top and you want to make sure that people know what kind of career you had, you play on these iconic football teams. You play in games like this that people remember. There's only been 59 of these ball games. And there's been so few people that have ever in a million years, ever gone on to win multiple Super Bowls. And when you get a chance to do that and you get an opportunity to play in these football games and you can sit there and you can have as many people say whatever you want. Listen, everybody wants to make it to the National Football League. But getting to a Super Bowl is one of the most difficult things to do because you got to be on a great roster. You've got to have a great quarterback, and you've got to go into and having a great run in any respected year. When you're winning multiple Super Bowls, like some of the guys that we're going to have on the program today, make no mistake about it, not many people get to this moment. Not many people are fortunate enough to play in games like this. You know, I go and we had Warren Moon on a couple weeks ago, and we talked with him. And like I said, you're talking about some of the legendary players that have ever played in the National Football League that have never actually gone and played in a Super Bowl. And when you get that chance, I never had an opportunity because, again, you have to be in great organizations. Take a look at the New England Patriots. I've made the comment. This is now their 12th Super Bowl. Do you understand that's 20% of all the games that have been played that are Super Bowl? That is without a doubt one of the greatest numbers that we see in the modern era. The Patriots have been the best franchise. Why? Because they hire smart people. They put people in proper places that know how to run. Same thing with the Seahawks. The Seahawks have done special things here when it comes to being able to build football teams. This even goes back to the days of Mike Holmgren. when you're building these football teams, hiring the right guys, Pete Carroll, Mike Macdonald, Mike Holmgren, getting the right players, and then getting a general manager in place. That's the two things that these franchises have for Sunday. Is look at the general managers. You got John Schneider on that side of the football for the Seahawks and the job that he's done in building that football team. Schneider's one of the best talent evaluators there is in all of pro football. Then on the other hand, you have a brand new Turk in Elliott Wolf. Yes, that's Ron Wolf's son, who was in Green Bay when they ended up making that move for Brett Favre and making that trade with the Atlanta Falcons to bring him up, only having to give up a second-round draft choice. I mean, it's no doubt there's no coincidence for you to be able to have an organization. It starts from the top down. And that's why these two franchises are in the position that they're in. So without a doubt, that is one of the things that you get when you get to the Super Bowl here. All right, let's go to a 4-time winner now. He owns 4 Super Bowl rings. He is our friend. He is Bill Romanowski. He won those rings with the Broncos, and he also won those rings with the San Francisco 49ers. Bill, how you doing, brother? And first and foremost, my question to you would be this. Where are the rings now? Where are the rings now?
They are in a safety deposit box. That's where they are. They are
Which
safe.
one's your favorite? Which one's your favorite?
You know what? Probably, my first one with Denver. I wear that one a lot. I also wear my second one with the 49ers. Those kind of seem to be my favorite.
All right, Bill, take us into the week. What's a week like this for a player? You build yourself up. Here you are in the most iconic game. You've been there 4 times. Tell me what that week's like in that build-up before you even step on the field.
Well, I think what you have is, 4 times I had 2 weeks to prepare. And, when you have 2 weeks going into the biggest game of your life, you're pretty much over prepared. You know everything that team is going to do. And it comes down to this. Who makes the plays? It's that simple. Do you make the interception when you got it? Do you get the sack when you got the quarterback, squared away? And, we make, everybody makes such a big deal about it. But at the end of the day, you're playing football. And do you make the plays? Do your teammates make the plays? What you want to do is just make sure when you get when your name is called, you make the plays. And I was able to do that multiple times in the big game.
Bill, when you step on a football field like that and you're getting ready to step up, talk about the energy that you have when you're getting ready to step on a Super Bowl field.
Well, I remember my first, with the 49ers, my first Super Bowl. And here I am, I'm on the sideline getting ready to play. And Billy Joel is right in front of me, doing the national anthem. And there's Christy Brinkley, his wife, who's kind of right next to him. And I'm like, this is crazy, Billy Joel is one of my favorites growing up, and there's one of my idols, so, you have a little bit of that. And like I said, that was my first, and it got bigger and bigger as the games went on. But, one of the challenges we had with the Raiders when we went to the Super Bowl is we only had 1 week.
Bill, hold that thought. I want to carry that over to the next segment. I want to get your thoughts on Super Bowl 60 as well, getting us ready for this game. We're going to do that next with a 4-time winner of that game. There he is right there. Bill Romanowski will do it next on Sports Grid.
Saturday, February 7th, Conor McGregor will be in the building for Knuckle Mania 6. In the main event, heavyweights collide as champ Ben Rothwell defends against Andrei Arlovski. In the co-main event, we find out who's the #1 pound-for-pound bare-knuckle fighter in the world. It's Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt versus Dave Redneck Mundell. Plus, a heated rematch ignites as Tony Loco Soto runs it back with Ben the Bomber Bonner. And the women bring pure intensity as Jade Massam Wong faces Crystal the Rugged Beauty Pittman. For how to watch live, go to bkfc.com for more info.
Aaron Peterson right now is -300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk, and you saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks.
We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on Sports Grid.
What's crazy is that the man I'm talking to right now, Bill Romanowski, most people don't even play 4 years in the NFL, and he's got 4 rings, and here he is with us here on Sports Grid here, and I want you to finish up that story, Bill. I mean, you know, when you step onto a football field and all of a sudden you're in that moment there, take us into that moment right before you get introduced and you go onto a football field like we're going to see on Sunday between the Patriots and Seahawks. What's that like?
You know what? Here's what Bill Walsh, my very first coach in the NFL, told us. We just beat the Bears in the NFC Championship game, and he said, "Men, you are playing an away game in Miami against the Cincinnati Bengals." And he said, "Don't think Super Bowl. If you think Super Bowl, you're going to think something bigger than it really is. You're playing football. You're playing a game. It's an away game in Miami against the Cincinnati Bengals, and focus on that. Focus on what got you here." And I thought that was some of the best advice, because at the end of the day, it is a football game. And if you start thinking Super Bowl, you think something bigger than it really is. You're playing football, an away game against a football team, and you just got to go out there and do your thing.
I got to ask you, one of your teammates just was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Roger Craig, who went in on Thursday night. What was your takeaway? Maybe long overdue here, right? Roger getting into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, it was. One thing about Roger that I loved is every day in practice, when he got a handoff, he scored a touchdown. And he would take it. It didn't matter where we were on the field. He would score a touchdown. And I found myself chasing him to the end zone, because when I was the young buck at the 49ers, I wanted to get noticed, and I knew the coaches were looking at him, and they were going to see me chasing him down the field all the way to the end zone.
Love that story. Bill, how about the Super Bowl on Sunday? Who do you like? I mean, obviously, 2 defensive-minded coaches, head coaches going into this game. 2 pretty good defenses, too. Who do you like on Super Bowl Sunday?
I like Seattle. I think it's one of the most physical football teams I've seen in a long time. And I go back to the two 49er games at the end of the season, and another really well-coached football team in the 49ers got completely dominated in the trenches. And I think the Patriots are a strong team. I think Drake May is done really good things, but he has struggled a little bit in the playoffs. And I think Seattle has played better football across the board. And so I'm picking Seattle to win the football game.
You must have loved the fact that Mike Vrabel, the old linebacker, is the head football coach of the Patriots. I mean, you got to like that because that team's taken on his personality, hasn't it?
Oh, they have. I love watching both these football teams. They're that good, that exciting. But for some reason, my mind just keeps going to Seattle is going to win this game because I just think across the board, they're a better football team overall.
Absolutely. And the storyline with Sam Darnold, I mean, Bill, this guy was left for dead, and here he is. Pretty amazing story.
Oh, it is, and good for him. I couldn't be happier for the guy, Hey, at the end of the day, you ought to know this. It's not, sometimes it's about the quarterback, but really it's about the defense. It's about how that quarterback gets blocked for every play, because every one of these quarterbacks on every team can make throws when they're protected. And if you don't protect them and you don't have the team around you, it doesn't matter who you could be Joe Montana, and if you don't have a good offensive line or a Tom Brady, if your line doesn't protect you, you can look pretty average real quickly.
Absolutely. These two defenses going into this football game, I think, like you said, Bill, I think this is going to be a game where you're going to see maybe a low-scoring football game, and I think you're going to see a really tight game going into the fourth quarter because of those two defenses. Bill, I appreciate you very much, man. Thank you so much, brother.
Dan, great to be with you. Thank you.
You got it. That is Bill Romanowski, the owner of 4 Super Bowls. We appreciate him being with us. We're now going to talk to a man who blocked for Roger Craig, Randy Cross, the owner of 3 Super Bowls, next right here on Sports Grid.
Saturday, February 7th, Conor McGregor will be in the building for Knuckle Mania 6. In the main event, heavyweights collide as champ Ben Rothwell defends against Andre Arlovski. In the co-main event, we find out who's the #1 pound-for-pound bare-knuckle fighter in the world. It's Lorenzo the Juggernaut Hunt versus Dave Redneck Mundell. Plus, a heated rematch ignites as Tony Loco Soto runs it back with Ben the Bomber Bonner. And the women bring pure intensity as Jade Massam Wong faces Crystal the Rugged Beauty Pittman. For how to watch live, go to bkfc.com for more info.
Aaron Peterson right now is minus 300 to be the top pick in the NBA draft. And anybody that saw the game on Saturday, you saw his vicious dunk and he saw his explosiveness, and he hung 18 points up on the board in the first half, right? What did he do in the second half? Ask Bill Self. Why did he come out of the game? What did Bill Self say? I don't know. Ask him. This is where we're at right now.
In-game live only on Sports Grid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize.
We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh, my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
only on Sports Grid.
One of my favorite people also that we get a chance to talk to about Super Bowls, who played in 3 of them and won all 3 of those Super Bowls with the legendary Joe Montana. He is, I think, the next man to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right? He is my friend, Randy Cross. And Randy, first and foremost, brother, thanks for doing this, but I got to start it out. You got to be awful proud of what you saw the other night with Roger Craig being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What did that mean for you guys? Because you guys blocked for him for all those years, and finally justice maybe came true on Thursday night.
Well, it was Dan. It was true with Joe. It was true with Jerry and Ronnie and Charles and all the rest of the guys, because a little bit of you sort of goes in there with them, but especially with Roger. Anybody that was anywhere near Roger Craig had to love him and loved him like a brother, and being able to be a part of a group. Initially I was the right guard for his first about 4 years or so, and then I was a center for a year and a half, and we did as well as we could, and he made us look pretty damn good. Really, really happy for Roger, happy for his family. And like I said, I couldn't love him anymore. And you just saw a little window into Roger Craig with some of his reactions to it, and just a little bit of what a fantastic person he really is.
I wonder how, and like you said, Harris Barton being on that line and all those great players, Jesse Cipolla being on that line with you. I mean, that really has to go to what you guys, McKendrick, who coached you guys as the offensive line coach. Tell me, I mean, Randy, again, not many people on that offensive side are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Prior to Roger getting in, it was really just, Rice in Montana. And then all of a sudden now, I mean, why do you think, I mean, you guys won 5 Super Bowls. You won 3 of those Super Bowls. Why do you think, again, a little bit of the omitting? We saw a little bit what went on in the Hall of Fame with Robert Kraft and Belichick. Why do you think the Hall of Fame overlooks that group that was so dominant, one of the best dynasties in football history?
Well, first of all, Dan, starting in 81, it was Dan Audick at left tackle, John Ayers, Fred Quillen, me, and Keith Swanhorst. Then Bubba Paris came in and took over at left tackle in 82. And until, 85 or so, 86, that line was intact. And then Steve Wallace came in. He took over left tackle. John was traded to Denver. I went from right guard to center. Our second Super Bowl was Fonhorst and me and Quillen and Ayers and Bubba on probably the best team I played on. And then the next Super Bowl, it was Harris Barton, Jesse Cipolla, me, Guy McIntyre, and Steve Wallace. So there's been a little bit of a combination. That first line was around for probably the longest period of time together, but we never got a whole lot of recognition from the standpoint of Pro Bowls. I did, Fred did, Farney did, later on Guy did, and Jesse, but we weren't real popular. And you played against us, why.
Yeah, I sure do.
we had total regard for the health of anybody on our team that carried the ball, and we had total disregard for the health of anybody that played against us. It wasn't personal. It was a matter of keeping them as healthy as possible. And, I don't tend to worry about a whole lot of things I have absolutely zero control over. And that would be number 1 on my list. But I played with some amazing players, and someday that number 0 will go up at least to 1 between all those guys I've mentioned, as to maybe 1 goes into the Hall of Fame eventually off those those 80 teams.
60-minute game, Montana or Brady? Who wins the Super Bowl if you had to pick between those two guys?
I'm always going to go with Joe. I love Tom. I'm really grateful he executive produced that Dynasty documentary that he just did. But I'll always go with Joe, because that 60 minutes in a Super Bowl, ideally it's going to come down to the last two. And I don't think anybody's ever drawn breath that's better than Joe Montana. He's ripped out more hearts in the last 2 minutes of a game than any other quarterback you could name.
Is there one Super Bowl ring you love the most?
No. Now, I got 3 kids too, so it's kind of like, 16 was the first one. 19 was the best team I played on, our second one. And my last game was Super Bowl 23. So it was kind of hard to say it was that one. But, if you had to look at one, maybe 19, because it was my best team.
Was that story really true about John Candy when Montana was in the huddle and he goes, "Look, it's John Candy"? Did he really say that there in Miami?
Yeah, absolutely. We're basically huddled in the end zone, balls on the 7-8 yard line. And we're down by 3, need a touchdown to win, field goal to tie. And that's his lead in once he jogs in off the sideline from talking to Bill is, "Hey, H, look over there, man. That's John Candy." Cool is that?
And you had to go on a iconic drive at the end of the game there, right? To beat the Bengals for your 3rd Super Bowl. That was that drive in that game against Boomer Esiason's Bengals, right?
Yeah, it was. Next to the catch, it was the best drive I ever took part of. And the key part of that was John Taylor getting the catch. His only catch of the game was a touchdown at the end.
If you had to go back, did you ever realize how much that catch was going to set up the dynasty run of that 49er team? Did you understand at that moment in the back of the end zone when Dwight Clark catches that pass in the NFC title game? Did you realize at that moment on what you guys were on the cusp of doing?
I wish I could tell you I was totally prescient and I could see it all coming. I don't think anybody could. If I'd have seen anything coming, then maybe I'd have seen 82 being such an unbelievable travesty and it was terrible. Or maybe the other strike in 87. But nah, it was the fans. We had the best owner, the best organization, and the best fans in all the NFL. And after all the torture they've been through going back into the 50s, it was only apropos that the game would end against the Cowboys specifically in that manner.
You know what, too, and I've said this before, with the team being in Santa Clara, Randy, I think you guys lost a little bit of your heart or your team there a little bit with not being at Candlestick Point. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. If the city hadn't had their heads so far up their butts, they'd have helped Eddie and gotten that done, and that stadium would have been built right in the same area there, Hunters Point area, right by Candlestick. And it'd be just like so many other stadiums, except he was planning on putting hotels and retail and everything else because he did know a little bit about strip malls and retail.
Yes, Mr. DeBartolo knows a little bit about building things. That's for dang sure. He not only knows about building things when it comes to malls, like the Great American Mall up in Minneapolis, but he also knows how to build some football teams too. So, Randy, I want you to stick around here. We're going to talk about Super Bowl 60, the man who won 3 Super Bowls with those legendary and iconic 49er teams, Randy Cross. He's going to join us next, and we are going to go into the game. Two teams heading into this football game. I'm telling you, folks, they have the identities of their coaches. We're going to do that next. Keep it right here on Sports Grid.
I know you didn't. Talk!
I'm innocent.
Got the wrong guy. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Okay, it was me. I did it.
Bringing an owl to an interrogation? That's a power move.
Every time.
Yeah. Hiring America's largest injury law firm for your injury? That's also a power move. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into Sports Grid and get ahead of the class.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on Sports Grid.
How could you tell the story of baseball without Clemens, Rose, and Bonds? You don't have a Hall of Fame if you don't have those three dudes. Sills, you know what, man? These guys took steroids. There wasn't a steroid test and a PED test in Major League Baseball at the time. Do you understand this?
Outspoken with Dan Sileo. Only on Sports Grid.
But I remember being 16 in high school, being in my school uniform, long pants and a tie. And I deadlifted 200 kgs, so that's 440 pounds. So, yeah, so that was, I actually have a video of it, so it might get leaked somewhere.
Oh.
Someone might be able to find that one.
We might need to get that one to B-roll the show with.
The Smiley Show. Only on Sports Grid.
So in the timeout here, we're talking Bad Bunny here, but now we're going to talk Super Bowl 60 with a three-time Super Bowl champion, Randy Cross. Randy, let's go into the game here, man. Who do you like in this ball game? Patriots and Seahawks, obviously. Two defensive-minded football teams. Look at the head football coaches in this game. Who do you like in this ball game?
Well, I guess I'm kind of going to be anticlimactic in that I don't think this is a very good matchup. I think this game's decided by about 10 points if it all goes as it should. I think the Seattle Seahawks are clearly a better team from the standpoint of having a complete offense. You know, Smith and Jigba and what Sam Darnold's done, what he learned under Shanahan that year and was able to take with him to Minnesota and do there. And then for some reason they have that brain cramp and decide he can't play and he gets to go to Seattle. Fantastic deal for Seattle. I love that offense. Great offensive line. I believe that running game is deadly with Walker. Defensively, they're as physical as any defense. You know, and you know defense really well, Dan. Every 5 to 10 years, you see a defense and you look at them on TV and you go, oh, geez, those guys are physical. And they are that kind of defense. They're Ravens, Bears, you know, old Bucks, that kind of physical defense. And that's going to be an issue because the offensive line for New England, though they block on the run pretty well, especially on the edges with their two tackles, don't protect very well. And that's going to be a problem for Drake May. You know, I look at it as kind of a 31-21 game, but if things go, you know, better for New England, they could keep it within, you know, 4 to 7 points or 4 to 5 points and maybe have a shot at the end. But to me, it's Seattle's game to lose. If they're ready to play like they were against San Francisco twice at the end of the year, if you look at those Niner teams and say, okay, not Niners or New England, who's better? It'd be kind of hard not to say the Niners. I don't care how many injuries and the way they execute and everything else. And that was like a superhero movie. They took them and held them up in the air and just and beat them around. And I think they could do the same thing to the Patriots, specifically because of the edges where I think New England will have a real issue.
Have you ever seen a story like Sam Darnold? I mean, Randy, this guy's Joe Namath 2.0 to the Jet fans right now. If this guy wins the Super Bowl, you had Joe Namath in the building. If he wins this, I mean, does this tell you more about what they're not doing with the quarterback position and how much you really need to develop the quarterback and the coaches and the offensive coordinators? Because the last 2 years, Randy, this guy's thrown for 8,200 yards, over 60 touchdowns. He's now 2-1 in the postseason, and he's 60 minutes away from a Super Bowl. I mean, is this more of an indictment on how you develop these quarterbacks and organization failures?
Remember what I told you earlier about playing for the best owner and the best organization? We also had the best coaches. And if you can get all three of those, you can do just about anything in the NFL. And it's very rare when that happens. They've never had that in New York. They had one fluke year with Joe Namath. Other than that, they've told it they don't have any more toes left. They've shot themselves in the foot so many times, especially in the draft. And you look at where he went. He went from there. He went to Carolina, went to San Francisco for a year. What happened in San Francisco? He was a backup. He got to play some. He was around Kyle, and they had that style of an offense. Now he goes to Minnesota with a similar style of offense and philosophy and has more success. He basically reinvents himself and gets to go to Seattle, where what's he's asked to do? Hey, the same stuff he was taught in San Francisco. Maybe I'm a lone ranger here, but I give Kyle Shanahan and his staff a world of credit for sort of, refurbishing his career and getting him ready. Because most quarterbacks don't get that chance. By their third team, they're on the downhill slide, getting ready to go into their next phase of life, as Bill used to tell us. So yeah, he's a fantastic story. And the way that he's played is got to make every kid in America that wants to be a quarterback pay attention to that, because it ain't just you. There's a lot to it.
Do you think there's something to being an ex-player like Mike Vrabel and how he connects with – now, look, obviously, Bill didn't play in the NFL, but, sometimes for me, Randy, you have a guy that played. You have a guy that played at the highest level when he was at Ohio State, when he played in the National Football League. Do you think that resonates better? Do you think you connect quicker because you've been through the same trials and tribulations as those players that you're trying to motivate? You got to have blind faith when you go to a team, especially at 3 losing seasons. Do you think it's easier to connect if you're a former player, and why maybe we're seeing why New England has been able to really turn it around? I mean, Randy, they didn't suck long enough. I mean, coming out of that 19-year dynasty. So you tell me.
Are you sure you're pronouncing his name correctly? I heard the other night it was Vrabel.
No, I think it's Mike Vrabel.
I think his success at New England just tells you how important the people around you are. He had no help in Tennessee. The owner is MIA. Their organization is marginal at best. They drafted real high, and that's why they've got the talent that they have. But he didn't have the chance he should have had. He got hired by Robert Kraft and plugged into that organization after a couple of pretty good drafts and then some good free agency signings and another good draft with young talent. I think it's just a testament to the ability that he had and how good the situation was he got plugged into, because that's extremely important. But Mike Vrabel, he's a really good, just peanut butter and jelly, nuts and bolts kind of coach. And that's him in a nutshell. He's just a good football coach. And now he's got some really good players to kind of do his thing.
Absolutely. I mean, they've embodied, you always hear people say that, your football team will take on the personality of your head football coach. Randy, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you, my friend, the owner of 3 Super Bowls, Randy Cross. We will talk about that Patriots dynasty. We will talk about Robert Kraft not being on the Hall of Fame ballot, not even being really considered for induction this past Thursday. We will hit on that Robert Kraft, is he the greatest owner in the Super Bowl era? We'll hit on that next, right here on Sports Grid.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on Sports Grid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You're undefeated in the regular season. You got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
They weren't giving it to...
Oh, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Bonito. No, but I'm saying Bonito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Bonito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on Sports Grid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of Philly! Knucklemania 6 in Philly.
You know, I'm a big fan of leadership, and I'm a big guy who looks at it all falls down. And what I mean by that is if you have great ownership in anything, not just a football team, but great ownership like the New England Patriots do with Robert Kraft. I'm going to give you guys some numbers here, which are remarkable, and where this franchise has been under the direction of Robert Kraft. As of right now, this will be their 12th Super Bowl tomorrow that they will participate in. One of them obviously was with the Sullivan family, and it wasn't with Robert Kraft, but Robert Kraft has now been to 11 Super Bowls. He took ownership of the football team in 1994. And let me put this in proper perspective. He has spent, in his football organization, has been to 37.5% of the Super Bowls played since 1994. Think about that. Every 3 years that the Super Bowl is played, the New England Patriots are in that game. And go here, because people will initially start and say, well, Sills, they had Brady and they had Belichick. Well, they initially, in the first Super Bowl, they went with Parcells and they went with Bledsoe. Then they went with the great iconic run of the Brady-Belichick run. Now, here we are again at the threshold of this football team winning another Super Bowl with Vrabel and Drake May. What does this tell you? Ownership, leadership, hiring the right people, empowering people. One of the most important things, and one of the things that I think people miss out on when it comes to ownership in the NFL, take a look at Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets. This guy is all over the place when it comes to ownership. He can't get the quarterback right. He can't get the coach right. He can barely get the general manager right. This guy has owned a team for 25 years. They're in the same division as Robert Kraft, and you could make the comment that the Jets are a laughingstock because of the Band-Aid guy, Woody Johnson. You look at right here at Bob Kraft, how in God's name is that man right there, the owner of 6 Super Bowls, 11 appearances now, come up on Sunday, not in Pro Football's Hall of Fame. You've got so much pettiness when it comes to jealousy, pettiness. when it comes to the NFL and it comes to that selection, I really hope that the Pro Football Hall of Fame changes their direction and how they put people into the Hall of Fame. If Robert Kraft is not a Hall of Fame owner, folks, who is? Jerry Jones? Put Jerry Jones's resume next to Robert Kraft, okay? Put it next to Robert Kraft. He's won 3 titles. What's the one thing that Jerry Jones has not been able to do? He's not been able to duplicate anything that Jimmy Johnson did in any way, shape, or form. It was Jimmy who made that dynasty. It was Jimmy who selected the coaches. Hell, I had the same coaches at the University of Miami that Jimmy brought to Dallas for them to go on and win those 3 Super Bowls. It was all him. It wasn't Jerry. Jerry is the P.T. Barnum, no doubt, of the NFL, promoting the league, promoting the Cowboys, making the league one of the most financial and most profitable entities in all of American sports. No doubt about it. But Robert Kraft is the best owner in the Super Bowl era. They have been to 20% of all Super Bowls played. And you have the most iconic people that have ever played. Folks, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Think of some of those teams. Rob Gronkowski, who will go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame next year. Think about how they built those teams. Name me one guy that was a first-round pick that they won Super Bowls with during the Brady era that was a skilled player. Name me one. Gronkowski was a second-rounder. Edelman, Amendola. All of those players were not first-round, and the quarterback was a sixth-rounder. Why? Scott Pioli. Robert Kraft hired him. You go into all the great people that they brought into the building. Nick Caserio, who's now down in Houston, building the Houston Texans. That all starts at the top with Robert Kraft. Empowering and identifying talent, not only on the field, but also identifying coaching talent. Sure, they had the Jared Mayo, I get it, but there's no doubt that Robert Kraft empowers his people. And this is clearly why the Patriots are back. And God forbid, folks, you're talking potentially about another dynasty. If they win the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday, that would be Robert Kraft's 7th title. We'll talk more about that iconic game with our friend Billy Godfather next, right here on Sports.
Heads or tails? Over or under? Seahawks, Patriots. Don't stress. Sports Grid breaks it all down.
They are locks. We can capitalize. We're going to see a ton of over money.
Props, expert guests, and smart insight leading up to the big game.
Oh my God, if Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl.
Only on Sports Grid.
They actually play Miami and nobody else. Bum after bum after bum. Now, the key ingredient to this clause, though, Joe, college football undefeated season. Ooh, no, wait, Donnie. You go undefeated in the regular season, you got to win like 4 games to win that championship. No, you don't. It's regular season. Notre Dame, the kings of duck, and saying, hey, we're going to play the easiest schedule ever. They got it.
The Early Line. Only on Sports Grid.
They weren't giving it to...
No, it's a good point.
They weren't giving it to Nick Benito. No, but I'm saying Benito's a great player.
Yeah.
But he's not a household name.
Right.
You know, you survey 100 NFL or 1,000 NFL fans, they're not picking Nick Benito out of a hat before Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons.
Right.
And that's, you know, when you get down to this award, that's the problem.
Pro Football Today. Only on Sports Grid.
February 7th, Xfinity Mobile Arena.
This is the most entertaining fighting in fighting, man.
Fight fans of
Bill